you you have options in either using a bolster and a yoga block, or you could use a foam roller and a blanket to create similar to a bolster, or you could just use some blankets folded to create the height differential. So put together what you want. The benefits, there's benefits and drawbacks of each. The foam roller, usually they're a bit longer, so depending on your torso length, I can get my head on this and my pelvis on it, whereas my bolster is shorter than the foam roller, so usually I need the yoga block separate from the bolster. But depending what's going on your upper shoulders, that can be helpful because it can create some space for you to get some different things there. So we're going to set up on whatever prop you decide. I'm going to show you kind of both and walk through kind of the benefits of each one so that you can choose based on what you've got going on. So I've just got a blanket over my foam roller, mostly because my foam roller is soft, but most people's, their foam roller is hard. And so the blanket is just to soften it up, so it's a bit more like a bolster. But you will come and place your tailbone, sacrum on one end and lay down the length of it, so you can see that the length of my torso, my head, works on it as well as my pelvis. And I'll show you a second in the bolster. So where this kind of hits me between the shoulder blades and on the back of the skull, I get some, length from side body to side body. We get this kind of lengthening where we can drape over the object, and then we're going to do some things with the arms. I'll show you the same setup on the bolster so you can see kind of what that looks like. So my bolster is a little flatter, more rectangular, if you will, and it's shorter. So I get my pelvis at one end, and then you can see it only hits me to just about the top of the shoulders. So then I'm going to use my yoga block at the height that I need my yoga block for my head. And then my neck is, it's got space there. So this setup is nice too. Sometimes it can give us a bit more freedom because the top of my shoulder blades don't have anything that they're coming into contact with when I come into this really elevated position with the arms reaching overhead. Whereas on the foam roller, because the roller goes up and underneath my head, the tops of my shoulder blades will run into it. So I'm going to stay on this setup and go from here. So just get on your prop, put your hands where they're comfortable. Palms can be up, palms can be down. You can have one hand down and one hand on you. You can have both hands on ribs, pelvis. Elbows could be on the floor. They don't have to be on the floor. So just place your arms where they're feeling good here. And as you breathe, because we've got this prop along our midline, it might be that you focus on the inhalation, really filling out and sensing that midline of the body. And then as you exhale, a sense of kind of diffusing out to the peripheral or the edges of yourself. Okay, then we're going to take the arms, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with both arms with this arm, just so you can see it on the camera. So one hand you're going to take and slide under the pelvis, palm down or up, so the arm is kind of like a chicken wing with the hand down low. And then the other hand you're going to take, and I'll show you with the same hand, and it'll come palm up underneath the head or on top of the head. So one will feel more secure and that you can kind of relax and let the elbow fall out to the side. So whether that's the hand at the top of the head or hand behind the head. So one's going to be palm facing the floor, down low, and one's going to be palm facing the sky and up high. Okay, then as we inhale, I want you to bring both elbows towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, just relax the arms back out. The elbows reaching out wide from the body. Inhale, elbows towards the ceiling. Exhale, they reach back out. Okay, after your next exhale, let's take the low arm and inhale, and it's the only one that is gonna, that elbow reach up to the ceiling. It's like we're yawing that humerus towards the torso as you inhale, and then as you exhale, take the other elbow towards the ceiling, and that lower hand, that elbow towards the floor. So we're just oscillating. Good, and with your next inhalation, just release the hands and take your arms out to the side and just take a moment to notice what you notice, having worked through a little bit of movement through the arms, the wrists, the shoulders. Okay, then we're gonna switch the arms. So the hand that was up top is now down low, and the hand that was down low is now gonna go up top. And again, just think about relaxing and letting the elbows reach out and drop towards the ground. Take a few breaths here. Okay, on our next inhale, we're going to bring both elbows towards the ceiling. And then exhale, elbows open up towards the floor or out to the side. Inhale. This time when you inhale, that hand that's down low, it's gonna come towards the ceiling and the other elbow will reach towards the floor. And then as you exhale, we'll switch. Good. And with your next inhalation, take the hands out from underneath the body and just place them at your side. Take a moment to just notice what you notice here. So hands could be on the floor, but they don't have to be, okay? And we're just gonna work in some like actions of snow angels with those arms. Again, they might come all the way up overhead, shrugging those shoulders up towards the ears. But again, if you're on a foam roller, this range might not be where you get to. So just move where it feels comfortable for your shoulders and neck, that there's space. Palms could be up, one palm could be down. It might be that the palms are down when the fingers reach towards the heels, and that the palms are up when we reach overhead. Okay, the next time the fingers are reaching down towards the heels, just kind of inch those fingers along the floor, inch those shoulder blades down the back and towards one another, and then find the power pads into the floor here, both on the hands and on the feet. And just find some light connection through the power pads, both of the hands and the feet, as you breathe in and out here for a second. Okay, with your next exhale, you're going to place the hands where they help you feel kind of steady on that rounded surface. And then we're going to reach the legs out long. So I'm close enough to the wall that the balls of my feet kind of reach the wall. Oh, and the bolster is slippery, so I can get myself a little bit further from that wall without having to get off and readjust. So legs are out long here. And we're going to take one leg, I'm going to take my right leg to the right, and I'm going to bring my left leg to the right as well. And it could be that you cross the left ankle over the right. It might just be that there's kind of hip distance between the feet might be right together. But move the legs as close or far apart that doesn't have your pelvis twist up or your hip bones. And then we're going to take that left arm and it's going to come up and along the side of the head, and let your head and gaze also turn to the right. So we're in a bit of a half moon or C shape here. Okay, then we're going to slide that left arm back down alongside the body. The head looks at the ceiling again, and then slide the legs back to frame that bolster equally. Take a second here before we, well, now my foot touches the wall again on that one side. Okay, so now take the left leg to the left, the right leg to the left. Give yourself a moment to kind of find where the legs need to be in terms of how close, or if you cross that right ankle over the left. Okay, because my orientation is to the left. When I go this way, I do want to cross my ankle over. It feels better and more secure. And then I'm going to take that right arm up alongside the head, turn my gaze to the left. Take a couple more breaths here. Okay, then you're going to bring that right arm back down, turn your gaze to the ceiling, reset those legs. And you could leave the legs long here for a check-in, or you can bring them, stand the feet up on the floor again. Okay, you're going to roll off to the side, coming off the props. And then we're going to take that bolster and give it a turn, and or the foam roller. Okay? For this, you might need another blanket, or again, the yoga block. So what we're going to do is come back down onto that bolster so it's kind of hitting you low ribs. So you're able to sort of be propped up on it with your mid back, lower back, above the low back, but sort of mid back. As you come back, this is where you're going to use your yoga block to support the head at the height you need to, that you get a comfortable amount of length this way, but you don't feel like it's all concentrated in one or two vertebrae. And then arms could rest over top of the edge of that bolster and or foam roller. Could be that the hands kind of come over it and the elbows are supported on it. Could also rest the elbows on it and then rest the hands on the low ribs or on the pelvis. And then focus over the next couple minutes, directing your breath back into that prop. So when you inhale, we want to breathe into that prop. Okay, find the power pads of the feet. And it might be that your heels are in a little bit. And we're going to lift the hips. Kick through those power pads to lift the hips up. And then as the hips lower, we want to have there be a sense of us getting long from where the prop is down to the sit bones versus us kind of pivoting at that spot on the prop. So kick in, just get enough pressure, and then as you lower down, we want to feel like we're getting some length from where we're resting on the prop down to the sit bones. So we don't need to lift super high. It's like we unweight the pelvis and then start to bring it back down to the ground. This next time you come down to the ground, you might feel like things are less sort of intense and some things at the back have sort of started to stretch. If that's the case, that might be where you can play with the prop underneath your head to find a new height with it. And then again, kick into the power pads and work that length from the prop down to the sit bones. The next time the pelvis comes to the ground, we're going to interlace the fingers behind the head. I'm going to move the yoga block out from underneath it. And just like we did with the lower body, I've kind of got the power pads connected into the back of my skull, and I'm going to lift my chest and torso up so I feel pressure into that prop. And then as I lower the head down, I've moved the block so I've got space, and I'm going to lower to the point where I feel myself get some length, but I don't feel my pelvis move from where the prop is up into the notch of the back of the head. And you can play with also where your eyes look as you lower down. You know, if they look in the direction of your knees versus them looking in the direction of the top of your head, makes a difference. Okay, and then next time you come down, come back down onto that prop of the block. And we're going to reach the fingertips towards the ceiling and just kind of shimmy those shoulder blades. You could hold on to each elbow, and we're just kind of reaching one elbow and then the other towards the ceiling. Just kind of shimmying those shoulder blades off of our back. Let's press the palms together. And again, we could slide one heel of the hand towards the fingertips of one hand, and then switch that so we really get the shoulder blade away from that prop, and we get heavy into one shoulder blade onto that prop. The rib cage turns a little bit. Okay, the next time you create that reach, whatever hand you're reaching with, you're going to turn your head and look in the direction of the lower bicep or arm, and then take the back of the head and move it backwards, the notch at the back of the head. Okay, and then bring the fingertips level, bring the head square, and now we're going to reach through the other side. And again, turn to look at the bicep of the lower arm. Okay, we're going to take both those arms in the direction that we're looking, both legs in the direction that we're looking, to roll off the prop, just scoot it out of the way, both the block and the bolster, and come onto your back. So you might feel quite a bit of contact. We got some stretching kind of in between those ribs at the back. That should have got you, Debbie, some length back there into some of those tissues. Just some space into those lats. Okay, come on to your side. We're going to take that bolster. And this time, instead of taking our back on it, we're going to take our belly onto it. So this one, I do like using the bolster just because it's a bit shorter than the foam roller. But again, if you like the foam roller, just use it with a blanket over it versus the bolster. So I'm going to place my pubic bone down on the edge of the bolster and then lay the length of it. And it works out for me that then my head is kind of free and clear of that bolster. And I'm going to bring my feet in quite narrow and close together to start. And then I've just got my fingers kind of interlaced, my elbows reaching down towards my feet, and my palms cupping the top edge of that bolster. So with my knees quite close into one another and almost like the mounds of my big toes touching, they don't have to be quite that close. I can start to kind of let the pelvis rock side to side. So I feel the front of one thigh on the ground, and then I feel more of the thigh, the other side into the ground. And the pelvis just kind of rolls side to side. Whatever side that pelvis rolls to next, that opposite thigh is going to come out to the side and that knee out to the side. And then we're going to reach that leg back long and in line with the bolster, and the other thigh is going to come out to the side. So just alternating. And you could play with taking your gaze in the same direction as that knee that comes out to the side for a couple. So it's almost like that knee comes up towards the elbow. And then you could play with the next few. Instead of looking in the same direction as that knee, look in the opposite direction. So we're still bringing a knee to that elbow, but our gaze is going to be in the other direction. Okay, keeping with that exact same movement with the gaze in the opposite direction as the knee, we're going to reach that same arm as leg long. So elbow and knee come together. Reach leg and arm long, and we're looking at the bicep of that arm we're reaching long. Okay, one more each side. And then you're going to roll to the side, come off that prop, and we'll come up to a seated position. Any questions about any of that? Good? Awesome. Okay, So working and coaching very unflexible male athletes this spring, I figured out some things. So we're gonna work with it right now. So bring the feet together in butterfly here for a sec. And just kind of feel where you want to bring the feet into, that it still feels like you've got space in the hips. And that if you wanted to come forward, there's some space for you for the pelvis to be able to, I like to think of like the tag on my pants where it is, that it's able and willing to move forward. It's able and willing to move forward. Okay? Then what we're going to do is take that bolster, or you can take your folded up blanket. Yoga block works too. And we're going to place those feet on the bolster or the yoga block. Okay? So now my feet are elevated, but otherwise I'm in the same shape, roughly. And again, think of that tag at the back of your pants and let it move forward. And hopefully there's more space for it now to move forward. Can you feel that? And let yourself sit back up. And then just move that tag on your pants forward again. You might take that yoga block, place it on the feet, and let the head bow forward. And just come into this bit of a shell shape. Taking a few breaths here. Okay, keeping the feet on whatever prop you have. Now let's bring the hands behind the hips. So the torso leans back, okay? We're gonna kick into that prop and let the hips lift up. So the feet press down, hips lift up. And you're just gonna lift and lower a few times like that. I like having the bolster because the pressure on the outside of the feet feels good, whereas when it's on the floor or even a cork block, it's kind of too hard on the bony bits on the outside of the foot. And then reach forward again, clasping those feet, and take the tag at the back of your pants towards your heels. Okay, let's keep the right foot on the bolster. We're going to bring the left leg around behind us. So now we're in this kind of 90-90 shape, or toppled lunge kind of thing. But again, we've got this foot elevated on something. And turn and frame up that front knee. So I've got one hand kind of in front of it here and one hand kind of just in behind it. Again, take the tag of the pants and bring it towards that thigh. And you can bring this foot in closer. You can move it further out. Find where that foot on the bolster needs to be to make space for you to move the tag on your pants. Okay, then we're gonna switch that, bring the hands behind the hips. Lean back. And if you do have a yoga block handy, this is where placing it and or the foam roller. So we've got something underneath both of our feet. So when I come back here, then when I frame that front knee, changes how much space I have. And I come back here. So we're just going to move between those two places where I'm framing that knee, where I'm bringing a hand and I'm framing each side of the pelvis and leaning back with the torso. Okay, then bring both feet to the bolster again. And this time we're going to switch. So we take the right leg off as our trail leg, left foot, ankles on that bolster. Okay, again, framing that front knee, bringing the tag of the pants down towards that thigh. And then we're going to move hands to frame the hips, lean back. If it helps create more space for you, you can bring up that back foot. That's red Sharpie on my foot, not blood. It always, since I drew on it, I caught myself the last 2 days. I'm like, oh, I'm bleeding. I'm like, no, it's just red Sharpie. And so we're moving between hands framing the hips, hands framing that front knee. Okay, you can play with the reach of the arm. Debbie, you might like this one where I keep my one hand back, but then the same trail leg arm, I'm going to reach that up and send my ribs back into the lats. And then I frame that front knee. And bring the hands back. So just explore some different placements of the hands and the torso to experience things that are interesting for you and where you feel like you get into some useful and usable spots into your hips and legs here. Okay? And then we're going to bring both feet onto that bolster again. One last time, we might interlace the fingers, clasping the feet, bringing the tag at the back of those pants, and the belly button towards the floor and the heels. Okay, let that go. We're going to take the legs out long. Any questions about those guys? Perfect. Okay, take the legs long. You're going to place, so my bolster ends up being kind of the perfect length for my feet to my abdomen here. And then I'm also going to take my yoga block and put it on an end and just create this forward fold shape. So again, I want to think of taking the back of my pants, that tag, and it wants to be able to come forward towards the bolster. And then I use the yoga block to just prop onto my head. And I'm just going to interlace my fingers underneath that bolster. My elbows kind of hug it. And you'll know you've propped yourself up well because each exhale will have that tag on the back of your pants. Feel like it relaxes and moves in that forward direction. and that you get a little softer and more settled into this forward fold. And then you're going to use your hands to roll yourself back up. We're going to take that bolster and place it crosswise and come down so our low ribs are what are resting on that bolster. So low, our pubic bones on the floor, low ribs are touching the bolster. You might need a blanket underneath your forearms depending on the length of your upper arm bones and the height of your bolster. Which I'm going to use, or a felt pad if you've got a felt pad. Yeah, there we go. So I've got the bolster just kind of hugged into the low ribs. I'm going to bring the legs in. Think about getting heavy through like the big toenail, but also stretching across towards the pinky toenail, the feet. So you can keep your legs out long. I've got a really long spine, so it feels better for me if I bring the soles of my feet towards the ceiling and bring the inside edge of my feet to one another and kind of press in. From there, then I'm going to bring my hands to the floor and just start to lift up. So my low ribs might come off of the bolster. I'm thinking of lifting the breastbone, and then I'm going to lower back down, bring my forearms to the floor and my forehead towards the floor and lower my legs. So now I'm kind of flexing over with my mid-upper back over that bolster. And I'm going to keep my right foot on the ground. I'm going to bring my left foot up towards my bottom and then reach back with whatever hand kind of instinct tells you to. So for some that might be the left arm, some might that be the right. It might be that you reach back to the outside of the foot. It might be that you reach back to the inside of the foot, okay? Or that you get more of the ankle or the shin. So reach back to that leg with whatever arm and wherever on that foot and ankle that instinct is directing you towards. And then you're going to kick foot into hand and hand into foot. Good. And with your next inhale, you will release the hand and foot. Bring both forearms and the forehead towards those forearms for a couple of breaths. And then when you feel ready, stretch that right leg long till it folds up towards your butt. And then reach back again. It might be the same arm that you want to reach back with. Reach back with the arm that makes sense. Grab the foot inside or outside, the ankle or even that heel. And again, kind of work the hand and the foot off of one another. Okay, let that go. Forearms to the floor. Release your forehead. You're going to scoot that bolster out from underneath the torso and back and underneath the ankles, tops of the feet. So we're staying laying on that belly. I'm going to put this blanket all the way out under me. And then you might place the forehead on the back of one hand or both hands, or you might turn the head to the side and have the temple resting on the hand and the notch of the back of the skull drawing towards the elbow crease or away from that elbow crease, depending on which hand you put on. And we're going to take Shavasana today in this prone position, so belly to the earth. If you wanted, you could cross the heels or the ankles. And if you're not feeling this prone Shavasana today, you're fine to roll to your side or come onto your back. And just bring your attention to your breath. And for the next few minutes, we're just going to place a pause, not a restriction, not a hold, but just like a fraction of a second pause in the inhalation. And as best you can as you're breathing, you're going to find and place that pause in the middle of that inhale. So you'll start to breathe in, and then you'll place a pause, and then continue to breathe in,
And then breathe all the way out. And then breathe in. And as best you can, place a pause somewhere near the middle of that inhale. And continue that breath in, and then exhale completely. We're going to do that 5 more times. Following your next exhalation, just inhale completely, no pause. And then we're going to place a pause in our exhalation. So start to exhale. About halfway through, find the place the pause, and then exhale completely. Inhale. Start the exhalation. Place the pause. Exhale completely. Inhale all the way. And we're just going to do that 3 more breaths just like that, placing a pause in our exhalation. And then let go of that and just breathe normally in and out. Become aware of the sensations of the body, where you feel pressure, contact with the support beneath you, maybe numbness or tingling, warmth or coolness. And start to bring movement back to the body. That could be wiggling fingers and toes, or stretching the arms out long, or bringing the heels towards your bum, or stretching the legs out long. And as you bring movement back to the body, you'll make your way onto a side. And just take a second on that side before you use the hand and arm to press yourself up. And use your hand and arm to press yourself up to a seated position. Hands might be in the lap, or you could bring the palms together. Just take a second to feel your pelvis, the support of the legs, the sense of length in the spine, this really easy rise out of the legs and the hips, the torso. Breathing in with a sense of ease, and out with a sense of okayness. Om Shanti Shanti, peace.